So I'm Fadzayi Traquino from Women in Law in Southern Africa. I'm the Executive Director, also coordinating WUSA's regional program. WUSA is a network of 7 chapter institutions working in Zimbabwe, Malawi, Botswana, Eswatini, Lesotho. So this is the WUSA family. The essence of this particular program is a partnership for a Pan-Africa program supported by the Swedish Embassy in Addis Ababa in partnership with International IDEA. And we've been working with a number of partners, Femnet in Nairobi, Faraway, Gender Labs in Senegal, Gender Links, Padare. And the essence of this program is really to support women's political participation in Africa. The issues being that we've been noticing a trend that there are some countries that are progressive in terms of gender parity and have reached at least 30% women's representation in politics and decision making. And here we're talking about leadership positions. But there are also countries that are still lagging behind. Then there are also outlier countries that have excelled. For instance, if you look at Namibia, Rwanda, that have more than 30% representation. So the idea behind this program was really a 3-year program to try and identify women aspiring leaders, understand their challenges when it comes to political participation. And one of the issues that was identified in the programming was the issue related to electoral laws that are gender neutral, that are not responsive to the issues related to women. Therefore, the law itself being a legal framework or a tool that is used to administer elections at times can actually work against women themselves. So within WUSA's partnership in this program, the idea was for us to understand different and various legal frameworks, also understanding the countries that have progressed and looking at their legislative framework, try and identify what is the secret behind why they have huge numbers of women in their electoral systems or in politics and decision making. One of the things that we immediately identified was that in countries that use a proportional representation electoral framework, there tends to be higher numbers. Then countries like our very own Zimbabwe, amongst others, that use a winner-take-all system or model of election, popularly known as the first-past-the-post system, those countries have lower numbers of women in leadership in politics. We also notice that there are countries that use an affirmative action measures or quota systems have also tended to progress over the years. So these are the variations that you see in various electoral systems across the region. So we therefore then decided that it is better for us to consolidate these lessons and come up with a discussion paper and a model electoral framework that countries may be able to adopt, especially for countries that are signatory to international laws and frameworks that they have ratified at international and regional level, that they are obligated to ensure that they ensure there is more participation of women. For instance, the CEDAW, the Maputo Protocol are all frameworks that most of our countries in the region have already ratified. And all these frameworks emphasize the need to have gender parity in politics and decision making. So to sort of motivate countries, and also speaking to election management bodies, one of the challenges that they say is that as an electoral management body administering elections, you cannot do things that are not domesticated in your own international framework. And the question has always been, when you speak about the issue related to number and women, a lot of legislators will say, how do we do it? Because they've just taken a very simplistic approach to gender mainstreaming. So the idea behind the electoral model Pan-Africa law is really to give countries a model framework that can be adopted. So we are saying you can actually adopt it in total, or you can actually look at the gaps that are in your own legislation as a country and say maybe it's about violence against women that we are not fully addressing. In the Pan-Africa model law, there are clauses that countries can actually adopt on how you can do with electoral violence. If it is around representation, voter education, that you feel there is a gap in terms of targeting women, there are models and examples that have already been drafted in legal language That's the point of the model law. It's already drafted in legal language such that a country can simply adopt a clause or the entire framework. So that was really the essence behind this framework, to really meet with electoral management bodies, to meet with the regional regs, SADC, ECOWAS, amongst other regs, and various other civil society partners that have an interest in pushing forward the gender agenda in politics and decision making around this particular issue.
Well,
Okay.
you've preempted it, but yeah, you can.
Chief, among some of the hindrances in women's political participation was the lack or limited male participation. What do you think can be done to ensure that men are heavily involved in this process and see women rising in politics?
So the reason why we've also brought in PADAGE, which is a men's forum on gender equality, is also the recognition that there are various social, religious and cultural norms at a social level, at community level, across the region, Cape to Cairo, that prevent and can be barriers to women's participation. And Africa in general is really a male-dominated society. In most of our countries, male take precedence, or the masculine nature takes precedence in leading discussions, forum, lawmaking process and practice. So the idea behind a male engagement was really to challenge some of those discriminatory social norms, or some of those negative social and religious norms that are masculine in nature, that become barriers to women's participation, and trying to build a new culture, a new norm that brings equality. Because the essence is not to say our culture is bad, but to say there are positive cultural aspects, positive religious aspects that we can borrow, that can help us to promote and advance equality. So we have organizations that have really been targeting males, and you find that within the project we identified a number of he for she heroes that have signed up commitments and have pledged to say, in my political party, in my church, in my institution, in my government department that I'm leading, I am going to take the women's agenda forward.
Okay. 2023 Zimbabwe will hold harmonized elections. What can the woman starting from the rural communities do in order to acquaint themselves with electoral processes? Because there was a concern that they've got limited information in regards to electoral processes and whatnot.
So there is definitely a gap in terms of access to information, but as elections begin to roll out, you find institutions like the Electoral Management Board in Zimbabwe, ZEC, and its various partners, the CESNIs, the ERCs, amongst other organizations, are really on a drive for voter education. So I would encourage citizens to engage and to participate in elections, to also seek and pursue information from their ward councillors, from their members of parliament. This can also be important sources of information beyond just the electoral management bodies and civil societies. So put to task your ward councillor, put to task your MP to also provide you with critical information that is useful for you to participate in elections. There are also radio programs that the media has also been conducting, and various newspapers also have been providing sources of information that we can rely on. But one of the things I want to encourage us as Zimbabweans is to say, a lot of times we complain, we criticize, but we are not even registered voters. For you to even begin to think about political participation and your next policy agenda, have you even registered to vote? Because the social contract comes from a registered voter. So let us go and register to vote. Let us go and take national IDs, documents, and do the necessities that make us to be on the voters' roll. So this is one of the things I want to encourage us to say. When you look at the statistics given by ZEC, in a population of 13 million, we are still not even 50% of our population are registered voters. So I would encourage us to say, let's go in our numbers at various constituents and register to vote, especially the women, the young people. Let us participate. Participation is key.